Hi guys, in this video we will have a basic understanding about forces. Force is an externally applied agent that causes linear movement on an object. The movement caused on an object is the action done by the force. Either the force pushes the object or pulls the object to cause the movement on the object. The action of forces on objects is studied under two classifications. One is statics, in which the action of forces is studied on objects at rest. The another classification is dynamics, in which the action of force is studied on objects at motion. The study of action of forces on object at rest is supported by Newton's first law. Look at the picture. If no one kicks the ball doesn't move. This is the statement of Newton's first law that if no force acts on a body, the body remains at its state of rest. This condition is called equilibrium condition. The study of action of forces on objects at motion is based on Newton's second law. If someone kicks the ball will make a movement. So this is the statement of Newton's second law that a force is acting on an object, the object will change its state of rest. And Newton's third law states that each and every action has its equal and opposite reaction. The force is represented by an array and has the characteristics of a vector. It carries a magnitude, that is the quantity of push or pull measured in Newton. It acts in a desired linear direction. It has a line of action. It has a sense, either it may be positive or negative. It has a specific point of application where it must be applied. If more than one force is acting on an object, then it is called as a force system. One such force system is called as collinear force system. In collinear force system, all the forces acting will have the same line of action. Another kind of force system is called concurrent force system. In this kind of force system, the line of action of the forces acting is different, and all the forces acts at a single point, either towards the point or away from the point. This is a kind of force system where forces acts parallel to each other. If the direction of all the parallel forces are same, then it is called as like parallel forces, and if the direction of all the parallel forces are different, then it is called as unlike parallel forces. The analysis of a force or a force system is done with a coordinate system. If a force or force system acts on a plane, then it is called as coplanar force or coplanar force system. If a force or force system acts on a space, then it is called as non-coplanar force or non-coplanar force system. Here is the glimpse of force systems. A collinear force system acting on a plane is called as coplanar collinear force system. A concurrent force system acting on a plane is called as coplanar concurrent force system. And a concurrent force system acting on a space is called non-coplanar concurrent force system. If number of forces is acting on an object, the object doesn't move in the direction of the forces acting. In lieu, the object will move in the direction of the resultant of the forces acting. If two forces is acting on an object, then it may be analyzed using parallelogram law of forces and triangle law of forces for finding out the direction of the movement of the object. If more than two forces is acting on an object, then it may be analyzed using polygon law of forces, where the resultant of all the forces can be found out and the movement of the object along the resultant. The resolution of forces is the most common method of analyzing concurrent force system. In this method, the forces is resolved into its horizontal component and into its vertical component, and the components are summed up, and using the Pythagorean law, the resultant can be found out. After getting the resultant, the direction of the movement of the object along the resultant can be found out. To analyze the force acting on a space, we must need a knowledge of position vector. In a space coordinate system, I vector is a unit vector along x-axis, j vector is a unit vector along y-axis, and k vector is a unit vector along z-axis. And the equation axi vector plus ayj vector plus azk vector will give the position vector. If a force is acting on a space, then it may be resolved into fxi vector along x-axis and fij vector along y-axis and fzk vector along z-axis. The resultant of the forces acting in space can be found out using the relation r vector is equal to fxi vector plus fyj vector plus fzk vector, and the magnitude of the resultant can be found out using the equation r square is equal to fx square plus fy square plus fz square. After getting the magnitude of the resultant, the direction of the movement of the object along the resultant can be found out. I hope this video is helpful in understanding the forces. Thank you.